I used to just think was I'm an old person, but now it's got a term. It's called friction maxing.
I like this.
And
Make a note. I want to use this term friction maxing more in conversation.
basically, it's a return. People who are kind of wary of AI and other things in life, you could do something in an easier way, but actually you choose to do it in a harder way because you see that there's some benefits.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of my basic vibe in life. Welcome to the Ridley College podcast. Here you'll find public lectures, stories from our students and faculty, and insights from leading experts on the Bible, theology, and ministry. Hello and welcome back to the Ridley College podcast and to this, our second episode of our new sub-series, Inside Ridley. I'm Hannah Craven, a member of faculty here at Ridley, and I'm here with my colleague, Reverend Dr. Michael Bird. How are you, Mike?
I'm very good, thanks, Hannah.
In this new sub-series of our podcast, instead of interviewing guests, lecturers, authors, we're just having a bit of a chat amongst people from Inside Ridley, letting you know a little bit about what's been going on, what we've been up to, and chatting about a few things that happen at Ridley. So we're going to start off today here with Mike, maybe with you. Tell us a little bit about what you've been up to recently. I know that you've been on OSP. Maybe tell the audience what that is and give us some of your highlights.
Okay, well, OSP is outside study program, and it's basically a sabbatical or study leave. And I had a great time. I got so much stuff done. I finished a book on the Roman Empire and the church in the 3rd century, a book called Imperium. I
haven't heard of that one
yet.
yet.
I'm really looking forward to it because this is going to be epic. It goes from the death of Commodus to the ascendancy of Constantine and all the imperial machinations. You've got military generals and martyrs and bishops and goths. It's great. And
history book, like a church history book.
Yeah, it's a history book with a unusual focus in church history. So it's not a church history book. It's not a regular history book. It's a history book, but I do add a lot of church history in there. Yeah. So think of it that way.
And theology?
I'll talk a little bit about the debates in the church in the 3rd century, particularly heading towards the Council of Nicaea. That would happen in the 4th century. I do a lot of stuff on Origen, one of the church fathers. He was actually summoned to the imperial court to do a lecture to the wife of the emperor. Even though he was eventually martyred by the Roman Empire, he was, at sometimes an intellectual celebrity that was brought on board to advise and entertain at certain points. So I did that. I also started work on a little theology of 2 Peter and Jude, which I'm working on now. Still really enjoying that. There's so much cool stuff in Jude and 2 Peter. And I did a lot of travel. I did lectures in India, the US, the UK. I went to Germany, went to my Geburtsstadt, my city of birth in Paderborn. First time I've been there since I was born. So went to this lovely little small city in Paderborn where they had not one, but 2 clergy dresswear shops within 100 meters of each other.
Fantastic.
It's a little bit of a Catholic mecca.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of clergy looking for clothes. Yeah. That's what I did.
Good. Okay. And since you've been back, one of the new things you've been doing is evening classes at GWAC.
Yes.
Teaching New Testament.
Yeah, myself and Beck Muir have been teaching New Testament 003, which is an intro to the entire New Testament. So we cover the whole New Testament in one semester. That's great. Been wonderful working with Beck. We've got a great cohort of students, and our hope is to make evening classes accessible, in-person study to people who live in the eastern suburbs or maybe even the outer east as well. So it's a great new initiative we've launched, and so far it's been a resounding success.
Yeah, great. Because not everyone can make it into Ridley and not everyone can study during the day at Ridley. So that's what these classes are for, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
What are we offering next semester at GWAC?
We're doing a biblical theology.
Fantastic.
And they'll be taught by Mark Simon.
Fantastic. Biblical Theology and Interpretation, BB002.
That's the one.
All right. Mike, I think one more thing. You've actually produced lots of books, as always, in the last year. I've got one here in front of me. This is a book that we use in our subject at Ridley, Gospel and Gospel Ministry.
Yeah.
5 Views on the Gospel. You edited this book?
I did, with my good friend Jason Maston.
Tell me, what was one thing that surprised you in the process of working on this book?
A number of things surprised me. One is that authors will generally move towards the center, or they'll move towards agreement generally. But the other thing that struck me is when you get down to the specifics, that the gospel is capable of being preached in different ways with different emphases. So if you take as your template, the Nazareth Manifesto from, Luke chapter 4, which has got a big emphasis on God's salvation as liberation, liberation from sin, death, but also from poverty and injustice. It's very complex. But if you take as the basis of the gospel, like Romans 1-4, that's got a particular number of emphasis again. Or even if you just look at the different ways the apostles preach the gospel in Acts, there's big differences between what Paul says in a synagogue in Pisidian Antioch compared to how he preaches the gospel at the Areopagus in Athens in Acts 17. So the gospel is very, I want to say the word elastic, but it's kind of flexible, and there's different ways of telling the story of God's salvation in Christ for people. And you see that flexibility, that diversity reflected in the New Testament, and it's certainly reflected in the Christian tradition. So we get some authors in there. We get Scott McKnight doing sort of a King Jesus gospel. He's very big on that theme. Got Michael Horton doing a Reform view. David De Silva gives a Wesleyan Methodist perspective. You've got Julie Ma giving an Asian Pentecostal view, which is interesting because it's Pentecostal, but it also dovetails with a big emphasis on liberation as well. Liberation from demonic powers, liberation from all forms of oppression. And then we have Shively Smith also talking about the gospel from the perspective of the Black church, but also generally liberation theology. So they're all full of insights, and it's like all of them are saying something that's definitely true. The question is, how do you synthesize it all, put it together, and how do you package and proclaim the gospel based on your location and your audience? That's what I think people will get away from that book.
Yeah, so some of these books, like 2 Views on or 5 Views on, are really like opposing views. You either, take this one or you take this one. Would you say this book is more, are these complementary views, or are there areas really where you've got to sift out between them, do you think?
Well, it depends on the particular view and on which aspect they're talking about.
Yeah.
There are some authors where they say something where I go, well, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
But there are other authors where they say something like, that's true, but would you make that the main emphasis?
Yeah.
So it depends. I would say most of these views tend to be more complementary than adversarial, which is fine, but you've still got to pick which elements you want to emphasize, or what's going to be the best fit in your context. And you've also got to say, well, if we focus too much on individual salvation, are we going to end up with an individualistic gospel and individualistic spirituality? At the same time, if you focus just on, God's wants to liberate you from all forms of oppression, is that going to result simply in Christianity becoming a type of, socio-political project?
Yeah.
So you've got to find the right balances and the right tools and try to figure out what does Scripture emphasize. And importantly, I think it shows even proclaiming the gospel is contextual.
Yep, great. And they're all questions we're asking and trying to answer in our class, Gospel and Gospel Ministry. So this will be a great contribution to that. Thanks,
Fantastic. Mike. So Hannah, what have you been up to? What are you doing these days?
Well, some new things for me this year. We taught for the first time a new subject at Ridley, the Women in the New Testament Intensive.
I've heard amazing reports about this subject. It's now become legendary.
It has become legendary. I do hear lots of ripples of conversation spreading around Melbourne and beyond. I think it's had a really great impact. I'm pleased we were able to do it because it is a kind of area that's really important, but also can be difficult for people to have conversations about in the church. So women in the New Testament, teaching about women, stories about women, and then into life and practice in the church today.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. It's great fun. I hope we'll get to do it again.
Yeah, and you team taught that with Lynn Cohick,
yes,
a very famous, celebrated, and wise biblical scholar from the US, and our own dear colleague Scott Harrow.
Yeah, it was great. We actually had a really great time working together, teaching together. Highly recommend. Lynn taught some of the kind of detailed New Testament exegetical work. Scott has a fantastic book. I think it should be better known that it is Raised from Obscurity, which is about women in Luke Acts, which he taught through, particularly about kind of what it looks like to live in the New Age, in the New Age of the Spirit. And I did some stuff on kind of hermeneutics, biblical theology, and also I got to do 1 Timothy 2, which was fun. So we had a great time. Yeah,
that's a bit of a main event.
We spent about 4 hours on like the Friday morning on 1 Timothy 2, so it was epic. Yeah.
Did anyone stand up and say, "But Adam was born first"? Adam was born first.
Formed first. We did talk about that. Yeah.
I'm sure it came up in a great many things as well.
Yeah, it was good. The other thing that is new for me is I've just started working with our Anglican Institute here at Ridley. So some people will have heard that Kate Beer, who was doing that role, is now working with the diocese.
On a secondment, I should say.
On a secondment to the diocese for a short-term period as Director of Ordinands. She will be back at Ridley next year. So I'm taking on some of the work that she's done. So that means being involved with our Monday program, with our Ordinands and formation of Anglican Institute people, which is great.
Fantastic.
Mike, we are recording today just after we've celebrated at Ridley our graduation this weekend.
It was fantastic. It was a massive cohort of graduands. I think it was like 116 or 115.
Highest number of graduands from Ridley ever.
I know, that's fantastic.
I heard.
Fantastic.
That's good. What was a highlight for you about graduation?
Well, I had a few. Number one, we had our new Australian University of Theology there. General David Hurley. Now, I like military men, Hannah. No nonsense. Get stuff done. That's what I'm all about. I love it. It was great. We had a good old military chat. Oh, yeah, army stuff. It was fantastic. So he was there, but he's also got these very distinct robes. They're sort of like got academic black, but he's also got this sort of golden decoration on it. It looks a little bit like a Byzantine emperor kind of a vibe to it. It was good to watch and good to see. So I enjoyed meeting the new AUT Chancellor, General David Hurley, former Governor General of Australia, no less as well. Yeah. So very important public
And what's
figure.
A chancellor?
Chancellor is someone who is the titular head of the university. They have authority and the majesty of the institution, but they have no actual power and they don't actually run the place.
Okay.
That's running the place is by the Vice Chancellor, who for us is James DL.
But so provides kind of public leadership and...
Yeah, goes to board meetings, attends graduations, has tea and bickies with people interested in the college. Kind of like a Governor General, but for the Australian University of Theology.
Yeah, fantastic. And a man of deep faith. Yeah.
Yep. He spent time in both Anglican and Presbyterian churches.
Yep.
I think some of his children are involved in Anglican ministry in Sydney.
Yeah, great.
And he's a person of faith, and he's still engaged in public service and doing his various things. And he's accepted this role with the Australian University of Theology, where he'll, meet and greet and advocate for Australian University of Theology and its place in the Australian tertiary education system.
One of the things I love about graduation is hearing about where all our students are going and going to be serving. In particular, this year we had some students on video from all around the world as well, which was really fun, and especially when we get their kids popping up. And you'll get to hear some of those stories. There'll be a graduation video that comes out. But were there any things that stood out to you in terms of where our students are headed?
Oh, it's good to see students heading into pastoral ministry. I think a few going into missions, and people just excited about the next phase of their life. I mean, I really like the student reflections. That for me was probably even better than the ex-military chancellor, was hearing reflections on our students. And we had, Sarah Barnett, we had Jack Holloway, and we had Brett Woods. And it was really good to see how they all had different experience, ranging from being like mostly full-time on campus, like part-time over 10 years, and being fully online. And they all had wonderful experiences, and they all had great things to say about Ridley College. And they all got something out of it, and they feel trained, equipped, and ready for what comes next. I mean, that was the good highlight. That's why I feel like, I did my job. Okay. Someone's leaving Ridley with a smile on their face, a piece of paper in their hand, and hopefully they're going to do great things for the Lord.
Yeah. Well, we did catch up with some of our graduates after the service. So here's a little snippet of what some of them are heading off to.
Hey, my name's Lachlan Vines, Master of Divinity. I am continuing to work at my church, Flow Church in Burwood, part-time as a worship and teaching pastor.
I'm Sarah, Masters of Divinity. I'm working at a church already, so hoping to be ordained next year in the Diocese of Sydney.
My name's Jack Holloway, Master of Divinity. I'm continuing to work as an assistant minister at Plenty Life Anglican Church in Mernda and Doreen, which is really exciting.
I'm Sarah Coe, Bachelor of Theology and a Bachelor of Ministry. I am currently serving as a deacon in the parish of Oakley, and we'll be doing that for the next 2 years.
My name is Victor Yang, Master of Divinity. At the moment involved in full-time youth ministry at Tima Anglican Parish.
I'm Ellie Killick, Diploma of Theology. I'm now ready and equipped to go wherever God wants to take me.
Hannah, does any of this remind you of your own graduation? Do you remember your graduation?
Which one? I've had a few graduations, and most of them I actually haven't been to. But I did go when I graduated to my MDiv, graduated from my MDiv at Ridley. I was talking to some of the students about this, and it's easy to kind of take study for granted, take completion for granted, take graduation for granted. But it was good to encourage students, and I guess this from my own experience, that it's good to celebrate this achievement, that it is an achievement. It's a lot of hard work. It's good to bring a kind of closure to it. I had my graduation for my PhD a couple of years ago, which was in Scotland, so I didn't get to go. But we watched it on YouTube from the couch at like 10 o'clock at night or something. And I thought, I kind of thought, look, I've already done the thing. It won't mean much. But I watched it and I actually found it really meaningful as a sense of closure for that period.
And they read out the citation and everything?
Yeah, and they just said my name in absentia or something. It was very, very fast. But that sense that you're ready to move on and move forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the sense we get with our students. What are we moving into now? And that's kind of one of the real positive things that comes out of the graduation.
Yeah, I remember my graduation. It was a good day. I had a lot of fun. But I was kind of like, oh gosh, I'm glad I've got this done now. I've had a good time. I've enjoyed it, but I'm definitely ready for what comes next.
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought it may be a mixture of military chaplaincy, maybe some academic stuff. But it turned out for me, the doors open to pursue the more academic route, and that's pretty much what I did. But I was certainly grateful for the formation I received, the people who invested in me, supported, encouraged me, and helped me get through it. And that's been my experience. Tell me what you think about this. Like when I think of my lecturers, part of me thinks of, I do remember some of the things they taught me, some of the things they emphasized, some of the insights and wisdom and nuggets of advice. But I think the main thing I remember about my lecturers is remembering the way they treated me.
Yeah.
That is the number one thing. What was their disposition? Did they consider you someone worthy of investing in, someone to encourage, someone to help? And, and then when students graduate, you then have a really weird thing where they're no longer your little, Padawan. You now start to see them as colleagues in a sense. So you end up having a transformed relationship with students when they graduate, go out, and yet still remain in your orbit. It's a very interesting dynamic.
Well, I was once a student of yours, Mike.
That is true. And look, here you are.
Here I am.
Exactly.
That's right. I think that's right. You don't remember as much what they taught you as perhaps sometimes like the values that they had in their own study and their own academic work.
Yeah.
Character and the types of encouragement that they gave you along the way as well.
Do you remember all the warm dispositions I had towards you, Hannah? Is that what you remember? you felt so encouraged and appreciated?
I remember maybe the most encouraging thing you ever said to me was I was very pregnant with my second child while I was taking one of your theology classes. I can't remember which one. And I'd done an essay, which I think was quite good. And you said, well, I guess you're no longer experiencing baby brain. And I think I take that as an encouragement.
Yeah, well, there we go. That I have to say, that does sound like something I would say.
Indeed.
That does sound something I would indeed say. And it's good, yeah. It's fantastic. Fantastic.
With that, we'll take a quick break.
Quick word from Ridley College, and yes, I work there, but that's exactly why you should trust me on this. If you take the Bible seriously, want to think rigorously about theology, or if you feel that pull towards ministry or mission, Ridley is the real deal. Full-time expert faculty, academically rigorous programs, and a community that is warm, diverse, and genuinely committed to Scripture. Study on campus in Parkville, right next to Royal Park. There's a gorgeous commute, or you can do the whole thing online through Ridley Online. From a single audit subject through to a Master of Divinity, there are pathways for wherever you're at. Fee help is available for eligible students, and there are scholarships too. Now, important, applications for semester 2 are open. So if you've been sitting on this, stop sitting and start acting. The time is now. Go to ridley.edu.au/study. Browse the courses, find your fit, and apply. We'd love to have you with us.
Welcome back. Mike, most of our listeners will know and have experience of the disruption to pretty much all of life that is AI.
Yep.
AI is disruptive across a range of areas, but particularly in higher education and no less at Ridley and theological education more broadly. You and I have slightly different, I guess, experiences of and perspectives on AI perhaps. But before we go there, perhaps you could say something about kind of the impact it's having on theological education and life at Ridley.
Well, it's having a big impact on education because the temptation for students is to use AI to do their assessment, particularly when anything is content-based. So whether it's doing a book review, writing an essay, even doing, in some cases, spiritual reflections. It can be tempting, it can be easy for students to use AI. And the entire education sector is going to have to wrestle with this. And the way we're going, it sounds like we're going to get to a point where we're going to have assessments where we can show that the student definitely hasn't used AI, or assessments where it's impossible to use AI. So maybe we'll be bringing back, written exams. Maybe we'll be having oral exams, or more likely there'll be a few different things going on. But it's a really challenging environment. So what do you do to measure learning outcomes when it's all too easy just to go into AI, ask a question, cut and paste? And sometimes with an answer, it's hard to determine whether it's human or artificially generated.
I know that you love using AI.
I do. I love it.
But we kind of strongly encourage and in some cases disallow AI for our students for certain purposes for assessment. What kind of things are you using it for, and what do you think it's been good for you?
I've been using it in a number of ways, and I've been experimenting with it. I used AI to generate the indexes for a book. So if you ever know, creating the indexes for a book, like all the biblical references to the Dead Sea Scrolls, names, subjects, authors, it's laborious. It can take days.
Yeah.
I created my own little app in AI, and I was able to do it kabombalanga in 7 minutes. I double-checked it, and it looked great. And I just had to do a few tweaks, stuff like that. Also creating image generation. So what I often do now is take my lecture notes, upload them to Notebook LM, and get it to generate a slide deck. And I have to say, it's far better than what I would produce if I was just tinkering around with PowerPoint and pulling in a few images from here and there. So, I mean, that's just two examples of how you can use it. I find it's also a great place to brainstorm, to think of some ideas. Like, I'm thinking about doing a podcast on Shia Islam. That's something I've been thinking about recently. So give me an outline on what would be a good structure to follow if I was doing a podcast. What are the big things I should be going through? Also generate a recommended reading list that I could look at as well. So there's some things like that I think are very interesting, genuinely helpful. But the problem with AI is it's a bit like a spoon. You can use a spoon to stir your tea, or you can use a spoon to cook meth. It can be used for wicked ends, like any tool.
Yeah.
And we've got to find ways of using it, I think, effectively to increase productivity, to make what we do better, to build more efficiencies. And I would argue you could even say that AI might be a tool to help us fill the creation mandate, to make us better stewards of the earth, the creation order, to help human beings flourish in new ways. Now, I get the feeling, Hannah, you may be a little more skeptical or less of an AI optimist like me.
I'm like a total non-adopter. I do not use it, and I feel pretty negative about it.
In what sense or for what reason?
Well, I worry about the kind of ethical issues of the infrastructure, energy, water, stuff like that. I worry about the impact basically on human creativity and thinking. And I've heard this term recently from young people, which I feel like describes my basic approach to life, which I used to just think was I'm an old person, but now it's got a term. It's called friction maxing.
I like this. Make a note. I want to use this term friction maxing more in conversation.
Basically, it's a return. People who are kind of wary of AI and other things in life, you could do something in an easier way, but actually you choose to do it in a harder way because you see that there's some benefits.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of my basic vibe in life. What are the benefits of doing the hard work yourself?
Yeah.
Even if it takes time and a lot of effort and a lot of thinking. And I'm kind of inclined in that direction. And I don't prize efficiency, I don't think. And I don't, So that's just a short sort of summary. I strongly discourage students from using AI, particularly in theological education, because I think what we're here for at Ridley is not just, it's not just producing good work, and it's not even just downloading knowledge. It's actually about forming character.
Yep.
And you can't form character without doing the work yourself, basically.
Yeah. I think the environmental concerns are legitimate, but from the research I've done, they are making AI more energy efficient all the time based on the chip. So there are people who are working hard to make sure that the environmental impact of AI and data centers is becoming less burdensome in our overall climate and atmosphere. The one thing I have to say is that we have entered a world now where AI is just ubiquitous. And I know you're not an AI adopter.
I turn it off.
But here's the thing, Hannah. Here's the thing. if you give me your phone, I will show you all the apps that are using AI.
Sure.
So it is now fully infused into our digital ecosystem, irrespective of what we may think and feel. So when you do a Google search, you're getting an AI summary.
Sure. Yeah.
You go into PowerPoint, AI is suggesting the slides you might want to use depending on the topic. So it's a little bit like trying to escape oxygen in some sense.
I try as hard as I can.
I know, and good on you for that, Han. Good on you for that. But I think it's having a healthy bit of skepticism towards something that can be used for nefarious ends. And, it can be like everyone's now freaking out about a new model that can be used for cyber hacking, Claude Mythos. So everyone's like, oh my goodness, have we just destroyed every banking system in the world by creating this? But if you didn't create it, then someone is going to do it. There's all these sorts of problems that are going to disrupt people's lives. But I think it is a massive disruption, like the invention of the printing press, or when the internet was, adopted on a grand global scale. It's going to change the way people do business. And I guess Christian leaders need to think about what is the Christian way of negotiating this world where you have this new disruptive technology that can be used for good or for ill, can help us make us more efficient and productive, but may become with a lot of costs in terms of what that means for economics, employment, and environment. But one thing I don't think we can do is simply ignore it. I just like the idea of someone who can change the style of my bibliography like that when I put it in. No, go to Turabian. No, go to SBL. So I just like the perks and all the cool things you can do it, and making images of myself as a sidekick to Luke Skywalker.
All right.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Inside Ridley. But remember, if you apply to study with us, you can also be Inside Ridley. If you like this program, hey, subscribe, like, share with some friends who you think should come to Ridley. We'd love to hear from them. Otherwise, God bless you, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode of Inside Ridley.